Imagine pulling off the freeway in Washington state. It's late. Your tank is on empty. The exit looks normal. A few stores, some old motels, a gas station glowing under a flickering sign. You pull in, you park, you reach for your wallet, and that's the moment everything goes wrong. Because in 10 specific cities across Washington state, locals will tell you the same thing. They'll say it quietly, they'll say it nervously, they'll say it like a warning passed down from neighbor to neighbor for years. Don't stop here, don't get out of your car, and whatever you do, don't pull out your phone. The Evergreen State has a reputation for misty forests, smiling tech workers, and Starbucks on every corner. But behind that postcard image, there's another Washington. A Washington where violent crime rates are 200% above the state average. A Washington where one tiny city of just 10,000 people sees more violent crime than entire counties. A Washington where the mayor of one of these towns publicly admitted, and I quote, "We have lost control." Today, I'm going to walk you through the 10 most dangerous cities in Washington state for 2026, ranked from number 10 all the way down to the worst of the worst at number 1. The data comes straight from the FBI's most recent crime report and Washington State Patrol's 2026 update. Stick around to number 3, because what's happening there is genuinely shocking. And number 1 isn't even close. Let's get into it. Starting our countdown at number 10, Federal Way, Washington. If you've never been to Federal Way, here's the picture. It sits about 25 miles south of Seattle, between Tacoma and the city of Kent. Population just under 100,000 people. On paper, it looks like a normal Pacific Northwest suburb. Strip malls, chain restaurants, the kind of place a young family might consider when they're priced out of Seattle. But Federal Way has a problem, and it's growing fast. The latest crime data shows 336 violent crimes per 100,000 residents. Property crime, 4,251 incidents per 100,000, nearly double the national average. That translates to a 1 in 297 chance of becoming a violent crime victim every single year. Property crime, almost 1 in 23. Locals will tell you the trouble zones. The Pacific Highway South Corridor, that long stretch of motels and gas stations near the freeway, has become notorious for stolen vehicles, drug activity, and assaults near rideshare pickup points. The shopping plazas along 20th Avenue South have seen so many armed robberies that local news has stopped covering them. Here's what surprises most people. Federal Way used to be considered a safe, working-class suburb. 20 years ago, families moved here specifically because it was affordable and quiet. Today, cheap rent has attracted a transient population. Combined with limited police staffing and easy freeway access in and out of the city, Federal Way has become what locals call a freeway city, meaning crimes happen, criminals jump on Interstate 5, and they're gone before officers arrive. If your gas light comes on near Federal Way, the locals' advice is simple. Keep driving. There are safer exits 5 minutes north and south. Use them. That's number 10. It gets a lot worse from here. Number 9, Spokane, Washington. Spokane might surprise some of you. This is Washington's second largest city, the cultural and economic hub of all of Eastern Washington. Beautiful river through downtown. Gonzaga University. On the surface, the kind of place tourism boards put on postcards. But peel back that postcard, and you find something different. Spokane reports 689 violent crimes per 100,000 residents. Property crime has reached an almost unbelievable 5,920 incidents per 100,000. The city now ranks among the top in the United States for vehicle theft per capita. What's actually going on? The honest answer is fentanyl and homelessness, and a downtown core that has, by every available measure, lost control of its public spaces. Walk through downtown Spokane today, particularly along Sprague Avenue near the Greyhound station or near Riverfront Park after dark, and you'll see what residents have been complaining about for 3 years straight: open-air drug use, aggressive panhandling, tent encampments along sidewalks where families used to walk. Local business owners have publicly stated they're closing locations not because business is bad, but because employees no longer feel safe walking to their cars. Here's a stat that should stop you cold. Burglaries in Spokane run at over 1,700 per year. That's nearly 5 burglaries every single day in this city of 220,000 people. Residents have a 1 in 17 chance of being a property crime victim. 1 in 17. Think about your 17 closest neighbors. One of them is getting robbed this year. The neighborhood's locals warn outsiders to avoid include East Central, parts of Hilliard, and the East Sprague corridor, particularly between dusk and dawn. Gas stations along Division Street and 3rd Avenue have installed bulletproof glass at registers. That's not metaphor. That's literal. That's number 9. Number 8. And this one trips up a lot of people. Vancouver, Washington. Not Vancouver, Canada. This is the Vancouver right across the river from Portland, Oregon. Population around 190,000 people. The largest city in southwest Washington. For years, Vancouver was sold as the smart move, the affordable alternative for people who wanted Portland area access without Oregon's income taxes. And for a long time, that pitch worked. Tens of thousands of people moved across the Columbia River. But here's what those marketing brochures didn't mention. Vancouver, Washington now has a violent crime rate of 582 incidents per 100,000 people, 79% higher than the Washington state average. Property crime sits at 3,238 per 100,000. Vehicle theft is among the highest in the entire Pacific Northwest. Why is Vancouver, Washington in trouble? One word: spillover. Portland, Oregon has spent the last 5 years dealing with a homelessness crisis, a property crime crisis, and a retail theft epidemic. The I-5 bridge connecting Portland to Vancouver takes about 90 seconds to cross. Crime that gets pushed out of downtown Portland often resurfaces in downtown Vancouver. Police on both sides have admitted this on record. The Fourth Plain Corridor, parts of downtown Vancouver, and the area around Esther Short Park have all become problem zones. Police staffing has not kept pace with population growth. The result? A 1 in 172 chance of being a violent crime victim. Every year, every resident. Local advice? If you're stopping for gas, stay east of Interstate 205. Avoid the older industrial zones near the Columbia River waterfront. Don't park overnight in a hotel lot near downtown. The car prowl rate there is one of the worst in the entire state. That's number 8, a city that used to be the smart move and is increasingly becoming the regretted move. But hold on, because at number 7, we're entering a different category of dangerous. Number 7, Lakewood, Washington. Lakewood sits just south of Tacoma. Population around 62,000 people. Tucked between the massive Joint Base Lewis McChord military installation and the city of Tacoma, which, spoiler alert, you'll hear a lot more about later in this video. Lakewood's violent crime rate? 648 incidents per 100,000 residents, 99% higher, basically double the Washington state average. Let me say that again. Lakewood is twice as violent as the average Washington city. Drive down Bridgeport Way west after sunset. Drive past the older strip malls along Pacific Highway Southwest. Notice how many parking lots have private security vehicles parked outside. Notice the heavy bars on convenience store windows. Notice that gas stations have signs telling customers to pay at the window, not at the pump, after dark. Those are not decorations. Those are responses. Lakewood police have been transparent about what's driving the numbers. Fentanyl trafficking, gang activity that has spilled south from Tacoma, auto theft rings using Interstate 5 as a getaway route, and a serious ongoing homelessness situation centered around the older motels along Pacific Highway. The neighborhood locals genuinely warn outsiders about is the Tacoma area, particularly near the lakes and the older mobile home communities. There's a stretch of road there where, according to local news reports, multiple drive-by shootings have happened in the same calendar year. A public information officer at Lakewood PD said it directly. Quote, "We are seeing repeat offenders cycling through the system, returning to the same blocks within weeks. If you need gas south of Tacoma, locals will quietly tell you to push through to Olympia. It's only 20 more minutes." Worth it. That's number 7, and we're still nowhere near the worst. This is where things get genuinely strange. Number 6. Toppenish, Washington. If you've never heard of Toppenish, you're not alone. It's a tiny town in central Washington's Yakima Valley. Population? Less than 9,000 people. The kind of small town where, if you blinked while driving by, you'd miss it entirely. So why is a town of 9,000 people on a list of the most dangerous cities in Washington? Because the per capita numbers are, frankly, disturbing. Residents face a 1 in 14 chance, 1 in 14, of being the victim of a property or violent crime in any given year. That's not a typo. 299 crimes per square mile in a tiny 6 square mile city. Total crime cases reported in the last full year, nearly 960. 960 crimes. In a town smaller than most American high schools. What's happening in Toppenish? Toppenish sits inside the Yakima Indian Reservation, which creates a layered jurisdictional situation. Local police, county sheriffs, tribal police, and federal authorities all have overlapping authority depending on the type of crime. Reports filed with one agency don't always make it cleanly to others, and criminals who understand this system have, according to multiple Seattle Times investigations, exploited the jurisdictional gaps for years. The areas locals warn about most are South Elm Street and the city center near Alfalfa Avenue. These zones have become known for drug distribution, late-night assaults, and a pattern of break-ins targeting both homes and small businesses. Local gas station workers have publicly stated they keep cash drops to under $50 at all times, because anything more attracts armed robberies. There's another layer to this. Toppenish has a vibrant, beautiful cultural identity. The famous murals depicting Yakima history are genuinely stunning. Residents themselves are the loudest voices begging for more law enforcement resources. They are not the problem. They are the people most affected by it. But the data is the data, and in 2026, if you're passing through central Washington with low fuel, locals will tell you the same thing. Make it to Yakima, or make it to Sunnyside. Just don't stop in town after dark. That's number 6. Now we cross into the top 5. Number 5. Aberdeen, Washington. Aberdeen sits on Washington's Pacific coast, where the Chehalis River meets Grays Harbor. Population about 16,000 people. Once upon a time, Aberdeen was a thriving logging and fishing town. Wood mills employed thousands. Today, Aberdeen has the kind of statistics that don't even feel real until you visit. Aberdeen residents face a 1 in 230 chance of being victims of a violent crime per year. But here's the truly shocking number: 6 murders per capita in a city of less than 20,000 people. According to data collected from over 18,000 local law enforcement agencies, Aberdeen is more dangerous than 94% of all cities in the United States. 94%. Drive through Aberdeen today, and here's what you'll see. The downtown is full of beautiful, ornate, 100-year-old brick buildings. Many of them are boarded up. The mills that employed 3,000 people in the 1970s now employ a few hundred. Unemployment is double the state average. The poverty rate is among the worst in Washington. The opioid crisis hit Aberdeen earlier and harder than almost any other city in the Pacific Northwest, and the effects are still visible on every block. What does that mean for someone passing through? Specific zones in Aberdeen are no-go areas after dark. The Heron Street corridor near the river, parts of West Wishka, the blocks around the older motels off Highway 12. Local police have acknowledged in public statements that they don't have the manpower to fully patrol these areas at night. There's also a layer that's hard to capture in statistics. It's the feel of the town. Locals describe it as tense. Tourists who stop for gas on the way to Ocean Shores or Westport often comment that something feels wrong, even when nothing visibly bad is happening. A sense of decay, of disinvestment, of a community that's been forgotten by the state government and that knows it. The directive from locals, almost word for word from a recent Reddit thread that went viral. If your gas light comes on between Olympia and the coast, fill up in Olympia. If you're already past Olympia, push through to Hoquiam. Don't stop in Aberdeen, just don't. That's number 5. We're entering the top 4, and the numbers are about to take a sharp turn. Number 4. And yes, you read that right. Seattle, Washington, the largest city in the state, home to Amazon, Microsoft, Boeing, Starbucks. A city of glass towers, billion-dollar corporations, world-class restaurants, and some of the most highly educated people in the United States. It's also, by violent crime rate per capita, the 4th most dangerous city in Washington state. Seattle reports 775 violent crimes per 100,000 residents, 138% higher than the state average. Property crime sits at over 5,100 per 100,000. The city recorded over 4,490 violent crimes in the last reporting year. And property crime now affects an astonishing 1 in 22 Seattle residents. How does this happen in a city this wealthy? Seattle is a city of contradictions. There's the Seattle of South Lake Union and Microsoft engineers earning $300,000 a year. And then there's the other Seattle, Capitol Hill after midnight, Belltown after the bars close, Pioneer Square on a weekday afternoon, 3rd Avenue downtown, once a normal commuter street, now widely described by residents as the worst block in the city. Seattle's homelessness population has reached a documented 16,000 individuals, robberies, over 450, aggravated assaults, over 500 per 100,000, and homicides hit a generational high during the recent peak before slightly declining. The neighborhoods even longtime Seattleites avoid after dark. Aurora Avenue North, particularly the stretch through North Seattle. Rainier Valley below Mount Baker, the Soto Industrial District, parts of Lake City, each area known for a specific pattern. Aurora for human trafficking, Rainier Valley for gun violence, Soto for vehicle crimes, Lake City for assaults near transit stops. If your gas light is on, locals give very specific advice. Take exit 168 to Mercer Street. Fill up in South Lake Union near the Amazon campuses where there's 24/7 security and pedestrian foot traffic. Or push north to the Northgate area. Do not, under any circumstance, take the older I-5 exits into Aurora or Soto after dark. That's number 4. Hold on, because the next 3 are absolutely brutal. Number 3, and this is where the numbers get genuinely outrageous. Tukwila, Washington. You may not have heard of Tukwila by name, but you've definitely been there if you've ever flown through SeaTac Airport or shopped at Westfield South Center, Washington's largest shopping mall. Population just under 21,000 people. Tiny, compact, mostly commercial, and statistically, one of the most dangerous places in the entire United States per capita. Tukwila's violent crime rate? 927 incidents per 100,000 residents. 184% higher than the Washington state average. But that's not even the wild stat. Property crime in Tukwila is reported at 18,003 incidents per 100,000. 18,000. By far the highest property crime ratio in the entire state of Washington. And vehicle theft? 4,200 plus stolen cars per year in a city of 20,000 people. Let me put that in perspective. If you live in Tukwila, statistically, your car has a meaningful chance of being stolen in any given year. Not in your lifetime, in any given year. What's driving these numbers? Tukwila's location is paradoxically both its greatest economic strength and its greatest crime liability. The city sits at the convergence of Interstate 5, Interstate 405, and State Route 167. It contains SeaTac Airport and the largest mall in Washington. Add the homelessness crisis spilling south from Seattle along the I-5 corridor. Add organized retail theft rings targeting the mall. Add the airport hotel zones, known for crimes targeting traveling business people. Add easy freeway access, meaning a car stolen at 8 p.m. can be in Tacoma by 8:15 p.m., and a chop shop in Olympia by 9 p.m. The neighborhoods residents warn most strongly about are the International Boulevard corridor, particularly the older motels, and the parking structures around Westfield South Center after the mall closes. Rideshare drivers from Seattle now refuse pickups in certain zones after 10 p.m. Here's what makes Tukwila uniquely dangerous for travelers. Because it surrounds the airport, it's the city most likely to be the very first or very last Washington city a tourist sees. They land, they rent a car, they stop for gas, and they have no idea that the Shell station they just pulled into has been robbed 3 times in the last 6 months. The locals' advice: fill up at the airport rental car center. Do not exit onto Pacific Highway South or International Boulevard for fuel. That's number 3. We are now at the top 2. Number 2, Fife, Washington. Fife is the kind of city most Washingtonians have driven past dozens of times without ever stopping. Population just over 10,000 people. Total area less than 6 square miles. Located along Interstate 5 just north of Tacoma, surrounded by truck stops, freight yards, budget motels, and warehouse distribution centers. This tiny city of 10,000 people now ranks as the second most violent city in the entire state of Washington. The violent crime rate? 1,529 incidents per 100,000 residents. 212% higher than the state average. More than triple the Washington average, in a city smaller than most American suburbs. How does a town of 10,000 produce these numbers? Geography and economics. Fife exists because of Interstate 5. The vast majority of the city is occupied by industrial freight infrastructure, yards where trucks are loaded and unloaded, distribution warehouses, motel chains catering to long-haul drivers, and a cluster of older truck stops that have been operating since the 70s. That infrastructure produces a specific pattern of crime: cargo theft, truck hijackings, robberies targeting drivers carrying cash, drug activity at the older motels, human trafficking, and I'm sorry to be blunt, but the data on this is publicly available. At certain truck stops and motels along Pacific Highway East, Fife police are working hard. The department has run multiple high-profile operations targeting trafficking and cargo theft. Federal agencies have been involved. Arrests have been made. But here's the structural problem. Fife is too small to support a police force capable of patrolling a city this saturated with crime opportunity. The city has fewer than 30 sworn officers. The crime volume requires 3 times that number, so response times stretch. Patrol density thins, and criminals, particularly transient criminals using I-5 as a hunting corridor, figure out very quickly that Fife is, in their words, easy work. The locals' map is clear. The Pacific Highway East corridor between 54th Avenue and Port of Tacoma Road, the truck stop cluster near the freight yards, and specific older motels along 20th Street East that I'm not going to name on this video. But if you've watched local Tacoma news at all, you know exactly which ones. If you need fuel on this stretch of I-5, locals will tell you the truth. Pass Fife, push through to Federal Way. Yes, the same Federal Way that's number 10 on this list, which tells you exactly how bad Fife is. Or pull off 20 minutes later in Auburn. Just keep driving. That's number 2. And now, the city locals call the most dangerous in Washington state. Tacoma, Washington. If you've spent any time in the Pacific Northwest, you knew this was coming. Tacoma has been the violent crime capital of Washington state for years, and in 2026, it still holds that title. Tacoma's population, about 223,000 people, the third largest city in Washington, located 30 miles south of Seattle, sitting on Commencement Bay. Tacoma is a real American city. Glass museum, vibrant nightlife, stunning waterfront views, world-class universities, real culture, real history, real community, and a violent crime rate of 1,063 incidents per 100,000 residents, 226% higher than the Washington state average. Property crime at over 5,200 per 100,000. The total annual crime case count exceeded 24,000 individual incidents in the last reporting cycle. 24,000 crimes in one city in 1 year. What makes Tacoma so dangerous? 3 things. First, geography. The Port of Tacoma is one of the largest container ports on the West Coast. Federal investigations have repeatedly identified Tacoma as a key entry point for fentanyl moving north from the southern border into the broader Pacific Northwest. Second, gang activity. Tacoma has documented gang presence going back decades. Sets organized along neighborhood lines, generationally entrenched, now competing with newer arrivals connected to broader West Coast networks. The result is a level of street-level violence that can flare without warning, particularly in the hilltop and east side neighborhoods. Third, concentrated poverty in specific zones. Tacoma is geographically large, 62 square miles, and the violence is not uniform. It's concentrated, specific neighborhoods, specific blocks, specific corridors that have suffered from disinvestment, school closures, and economic abandonment for generations. The neighborhood's residents warn outsiders about by name include the hilltop area below 6th Avenue, parts of South Tacoma along South Tacoma Way, the east side near McKinley Avenue, and a particular stretch of Pacific Avenue South after dark that has been the site of multiple homicides in just the last 2 years. The murder rate is what separates Tacoma from every other city on this list. While the city has invested in a comprehensive violent crime reduction plan, and to be fair, that plan has produced some genuine results, with violent crime in target neighborhoods reportedly dropping by over 36% in hotspot zones. The numbers in surrounding areas have actually gone up. The crime didn't disappear. It just moved. Assaults dominate Tacoma's violent crime numbers. Over 1,258 assault incidents in the most recent reporting year. The city also recorded a higher per capita rate of homicides than any other major Washington city. Here's the warning every Tacoma local will give you, and they're not exaggerating. If you're driving down I-5 and you need gas anywhere between exits 132 and 137, do not pull off. Push north to Federal Way or south to Lakewood. Tacoma's freeway-adjacent gas stations have been the site of so many armed robberies and carjackings that several major chains have implemented mandatory 2-employee staffing after dark, a policy that exists in only a handful of U.S. cities. If you're determined to fill up in Tacoma, the safe zones are the North End near the universities, particularly 6th Avenue, the new development along the waterfront near Point Ruston, the Stadium District. These zones have foot traffic, security, and active community presence. Stay in those zones. Don't venture south of the Tacoma Dome after dark for any reason. That is number 1. Tacoma, Washington, the most dangerous city in the Evergreen State for 2026. So there's the list. The 10 most dangerous cities in Washington State in 2026, based on the most recent FBI crime data and Washington State Patrol updates. Quick reminder before you go. Every city on this list has neighborhoods that are perfectly safe and communities working hard to make things better. The data captures averages, not your block. If you live in one of these cities and your neighborhood is safe, you're right. If you're traveling through Washington, treat this video as a practical guide. Plan your fuel stops. Use major highway exits with foot traffic. Avoid older motels and isolated truck stops after dark. Common sense.